first off, we're hitting the 60th anniversary. Just tell me a bit about how that feels.
Yeah, it's super exciting. So this year is the 60th anniversary of It's a Charlie Brown Christmas, and it is such a special thing because I think that show means so much to everyone in this country. I think every family has that tradition of sitting down and watching it every year, and so we're super excited to be celebrating that.
I want to go a little bit into your childhood, kind of growing up. What was your grandfather like growing up, and do you see aspects of your family in these comics and cartoons?
Yeah, so growing up with him, it's funny, a lot of people ask that question of like, what's it like to grow up with him as your grandpa? And I always say, well, it's so normal to me that it's like, I don't know, what's it like with your grandpa? You know, that he was the greatest though. I grew up in Utah and he worked in California, so we made sure to go visit him, you know, a few times a year, probably 4 or 5 times. It was so fun. And what I loved about visiting him was we would run into his office studio where he would draw the strip. And we'd run in there and he would just put his pen down and he would just, and it makes me cry because he's so sweet, but he'd just pay attention to us, right? He was just like, oh, I'm done working, you know, I can do that later. And so he always made us feel so special. He was, well, I was like one of the oldest grandkids, not the oldest, but one of the oldest. And so every time we would visit, he would always make me feel so special by inviting me to do stuff with him, like even little things like going to pick up the pizza. You know, I don't know if there wasn't delivery back then or what, but he would go, let's go pick up the pizza, you come with me, you know, and so we would go do that together. Or he'd find like some of the latest, you know, Snoopy stuffed animals or merchandising, whatever, and just give those to me, and those are really cherished, you know, as gifts from him. So it was really fun. But as for the comic strips, there's a lot of his kids in those because he was drawing them as his kids were born and being born and growing up. So it's fun to see those strips, and my mom will say, that was me, I said that funny thing, and he wrote it down, you know, so that's always a fun story to tell.
That's very, very cute. Do you think he had any idea of what his comics would turn into?
I think he had no idea. I think he honestly just loved to draw. Like to draw was his just passion. It was his dream in life, and all he wanted to do was draw. Just as a little kid, just sit and draw. And I don't think he imagined the impact he would have made on the humans as a society at all.
What went into the decision to switch from just comics to then the cartoons as well that have turned into a big tradition to watch around the holidays?
Those have, right? And there's all the holidays, which are so fun. So I don't think he set out to do that. I think he was definitely approached. He was just happy sitting at his desk drawing. That's all he ever wanted to do. However, when he was approached for those things, he was always down for it and excited to do it. And I think those turned out to be a huge success and involving tradition and families. I mean, we sit down with our own kids now, you know, and so his great-grandkids, you know, are sitting and watching every Halloween when you get home from trick-or-treating and you sit out and you sort your candy, and we have it on TV. Every Thanksgiving, we're like, we got to get our pretzels and our jelly beans and popcorn, you know, and watch the show. And of course, every Christmas, you know, it's a Christmas Eve tradition in our family to sit and watch the show. And then it's fun how there's even little ones, you know, there's Valentine's Day, and there's a lot of other, and Easter and fun ones. So it's all a tradition.
What do you think it is about these comics that have made them stand the test of time?
I think it's because it relates to everyone. I think every single person can read the comics and go, this is humanity. This is what we're all experiencing. And it's the same in the 50s as you read it, and we all have the same human feelings and emotions and problems as you would now. And so I think that the strip ran for 50 years, and he stopped drawing in the year 2000, and yet we're still reading them and going, I get that, I relate to that. It's because it's just humanity.
Speaking of, you know, standing through time, Snoopy has had kind of a comeback in pop
Yes.
culture. I don't think he ever goes out of style, but what do you make of that?
I think that's been so fun. So this year marks the 75th anniversary of the comic strip. He did launch it on October 2nd of 1950. So we just celebrated the 75th a couple months ago. And I think that's made everyone just look and be so excited looking at the comic strip going, wow, 75 years. And so, yeah, we're seeing Snoopy everywhere. It's been so fun.
That's good. There's also a lot of iconic music in this special, the Christmas special, and really all of them.
Yeah, there really is.
Were you all, or your family, involved at all in kind of picking the music that went to it as well?
I actually don't know how they got Vince Guaraldi involved in all of that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that the family really, I think it was all approached to him, but I actually have no idea.
You said you grew up in Utah. Is there any other of your family here?
No, so my mom and her siblings were all raised in California, and she ended up here. One of her sisters ended up in Colorado, and the other 3 kids are in California still.
Great. And then what are some of your favorite parts of the Christmas Story specifically?
Oh, I love that movie. I know. I love Sally being obsessed with kind of the wrong thing, you know? Like, I just want money, or I just want, you know. It seems like that's kind of cute, though, because that's little kids, right? They're innocent. They're just like, oh, presents, you know? But I love Linus and his scripture story, and I love that he brings it all back. But I also love on the side you see Snoopy doing the most wacky things. Like, he's just out doing his own thing, ends up winning this award for, you know, the best doghouse decorations. So I don't know. I think the movie as a whole is my favorite, but it's super cute.
And what do you see for the future of the Peanuts comics and these films?
There's a lot going on Apple TV Plus right now. My uncle and his son, my cousin, have been doing a lot of new Peanuts movies and specials on there. They've been so fun. Like, the latest one they came out with is a musical about all the kids going to camp. So Charlie Brown and all the friends are going to camp, and they actually have Ben Folds did all the music. It's incredible. So there's just a lot that the new generation, like my kids, are watching on Apple TV. There's the Snoopy in Space series that's so fun. There's a lot of connections with NASA and Peanuts over the years. And so those are probably the best thing, I think, to have kids watch these days.
Does any of your family draw? Did that carry down at all?
It did. My brother is an incredible artist. I do have several siblings. I have, a couple brothers that are incredible artists. But yeah, I've got some, not me, but not my mom. So it skipped my mom, and it went to some of her kids. And I feel like my kids can draw pretty well. But yeah, I think I definitely had one brother growing up, the one right after me, that was very into drawing, cartooning, and now he's an incredible fine artist, which is impressive.
And then finally, you mentioned it would be little stories that would turn into some of these comics. Is there any favorite story you have of an iconic moment and where it came from?
Yeah, so my mom, she always talks about this comic strip where they say, am I buttering too loud for you? Which you'd have to know the story behind that. Is that she said they were sitting at the breakfast table, and apparently she was a little kid, and she was just jabbering on, like on and on and on. And her dad's just like, can you just be quiet, you know, for a second? And so she's buttering her toast, just like, am I buttering too loud for you? Like, so sassy, right? Like, I could picture my daughter saying that. So that then went into a comic strip, and my mom has that one framed on her wall.
That's great. And then what do you think of seeing an exhibit like this, or hearing that there was just a live show here?
Oh, that was so exciting. I did have a friend text me and tell me about it, and I was so excited to hear that this was happening in our own state. And so I was excited to come down and see it, and it's beautiful, and I hope everybody comes to check it out.
Great.